This heat wave will last quite a while for millions of Americans in the eastern United States through the end of this weekend, maybe even onward, but we will see a little bit more of a shift towards an active pattern soon, bringing showers and thunderstorms to some of the areas needing relief from the heat. In this video, I've got the details on the entire weather pattern ahead, including the tropics, so stick around.
One nation weather.
Thanks so much for starting off the week with me and my latest video. If you enjoy the model maps that I use throughout my videos, you can always use the same ones if you check out WeatherBell and the free trial link for them right down there in the description. Also, if you're new to my channel, just a reminder that I always give as well. I give consistent, accurate, and easy to understand forecasts for you, and if you want more of those in the future, hit the subscribe button and turn on those notifications by hitting the bell icon. Alright, what we're looking at here on the screen is the mid-level pattern, specifically in meteorological terms, the 500 millibar anomaly. And what we're looking at here is what is going on in the pattern about 15 to 20,000 feet up in the atmosphere, and in the case of this area in the east that I just circled as we head towards our Tuesday, June 18th of 2024 in the afternoon and evening hours, this is where we've got a ridge building. Yellows and oranges and reds mean high pressure ridging is going on, and what this really entails for the eastern United States is unfortunately a lot of heat, especially if you're going up there towards Indiana and Ohio, where we've already got some excessive heat warnings issued by the National Weather Service. Other heat advisories are in place for a lot of the Northeast Ohio Valley and Great Lakes. This is going to be very excessive for many locations, so always check weather.gov for your latest alerts from the National Weather Service. Meanwhile, back on over here in this blue area I circled, you see some of those lines close to each other through there. This is where we have the jet stream moving on through. That is creating troughing as we've got low pressure in the region, so it's going to be cooler than average back out towards the west. Very different from what we've got in the east, and that contrast is going to keep things a little bit more active here over the north central and really a lot of the central United States in the coming days. As we head towards the Thursday, June 20th of 2024 timeframe, not much is going to change in terms of the ridging in the east here, like I'm circling on screen from Missouri and Iowa all the way back on over here towards New York, even where I don't have circled there in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, these states. A lot of warmer than average and anomalous ridging going on here in this region, and this is really all the colors are showing it for you. You don't even really have to look at the key down at the bottom of the screen, but now what do you see? You see some of those blues beginning to pop back on up here in parts of North Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and areas surrounding by the time we head towards the upcoming weekend, around Saturday heading into Sunday, so June 22nd going into June 23rd. This is indicating more low pressure, maybe some cooler than average air right under it, but overall it's just trying to form a break in the ridging that's going on still over a lot of the western and eastern United States, where, by the way, back towards the west will begin to really heat up by the end of the week and into the weekend. Now, this is what I was hinting at in the thumbnail and the title of this video partially here. You see some of those blues moving towards parts of Minnesota, Wisconsin, now heading out of those areas and towards the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley regions. Even though the blues aren't dipping down far into those areas, we're going to see fronts likely attached, or at least one or two fronts attached to this area of upper level energy moving through parts of the central and eastern United States, and this could carry some thunderstorms through the area. So let's take a look at the overall future radar pattern. There are always timestamps down there in the description if you want to jump ahead to any specific point, like when I discuss temperatures day by day. But for now, let's use the GFS model. It's done a great job with the recent overviews of the weather pattern, and as we head towards our Tuesday, June 18th of 2024, backtracking from when we were just showing the ridging a moment ago, this is that active pattern over the north central United States. It has not been letting up for quite a while here, and most models are continuing to indicate that as we head towards our Tuesday late day, we will have the potential for some significant severe weather with scattered damaging winds, scattered large hail, and even some isolated tornadoes, really from parts of Kansas especially, all the way up there into Minnesota, Wisconsin, some parts of southern Canada surrounding the low that you see there as well. Now that low, you saw that L, it moves all the way on up there out of the frame and into parts of eastern Canada. This is important because as it moves in that direction, we've still got the front here, but we don't have much energy, and this is basically getting broken apart and really being forced northward by the ridging that low pressure system is. That's why this front is not too significant or anything to write home about by the time we get towards our Wednesday, June 19th in the afternoon and evening. Nonetheless, models indicate that we will have some scattered shower and thunderstorm coverage from the high plains and central plains all the way on over there to the northeast, particularly all the way on over there to Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire on Wednesday. Also, we'll be watching very hefty tropical moisture that'll break down in more detail when we get to our Tropics topics section of the video a little bit later around the 10-minute mark. This is going to be impacting parts of Texas and Louisiana from what could likely become a tropical storm Alberto down there now. Moving ahead in the pattern, you can really see exactly what our ridging that's going to be in the southeastern United States is actually doing here by the time we head towards the end of the week. As that ridge falls down a little bit and degrades over this region here, we're pretty much dry as a bone from Missouri and Arkansas all the way in over here to the mid-Atlantic region, Carolinas, Georgia, all these spots. Meanwhile, we've got remnant tropical moisture here in Texas, New Mexico. We've got that front still being stuck basically on the northern end of that ridge, and the heat dome that we've got still sitting here from Indiana and Ohio and Pennsylvania. Really the center of the high is there anyway, all the way back down to the Carolinas. North of that, that's where we've still got the scattered showers and thunderstorms there from South Dakota, Nebraska, all the way and over there to Maine. Look at this like clockwork. We see a lot of that fire back on up again on Friday afternoon. Most of these storms sub-severe, but we'll have probably some marginal to slight risk from the Storm Prediction Center day by day here, meaning a low-end threat for severe storms day by day as this front lingers around. We'll have a low pressure system to tap into some of that lingering energy by the time we head towards the weekend, though. And this is that one that could eventually spark more storms than just in the north central or the plains regions of the United States. Look at this. Here we go towards late Saturday, June 22nd, heading in towards our early Sunday, June 23rd. This is just one model. Doesn't mean this is exactly what's going to play out, but you can definitely see we've got some scattered showers and thunderstorms expected from Michigan, Wisconsin, all the way back down there to northern Texas. And again, are all these areas necessarily going to see storms? No. Since we're 5 days out, this is just one model we're looking at, and it's definitely one of the more high coverage models that you can look at. The GFS tends to be a little jumpy on systems like this. But if you want some hope, definitely look at this model because it's giving you a lot of scattered showers and thunderstorms from the central United States, heading even further east by the time we head towards our Sunday afternoon from parts of Missouri through Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee to a lot of the east. And look at that. Here we go again Monday afternoon. It's a slow mover, too, as it tries to move through some of that degrading ridge energy that's still here with the high pressure that's been in the east. And some spots from Texas and Oklahoma all the way and up there, too, especially the Carolinas up to Maine. All these spots watching some scattered showers and storms Monday, maybe even again on Tuesday, depending on how long it stalls out, if it were to. Something we're going to be tracking. Again, the models are not set in stone on this, but even if you go with the European model, it at least shows something. Now, let's go day by day with the temperatures here. We're done talking precipitation because this heat wave is a big concern. Now, there are circles that I'm circling here on screen, and I know I made this sound like a little bit of a joke, but this heat really is not a joke. I'm joking about these circles, though, but what they actually mean is that we've got record warm lows occurring. Temperatures have never been this high to start the day since records have been kept in this region. So from Iowa all the way over to New York, back down to the Carolinas, all these low to mid, even upper 70s, like 77 in Chicago. These numbers are breaking warm records to start the day. And what we break in those boxes in the afternoon likely are record high maximum temperatures for the day. So mid and upper 90s from Cleveland down to Toledo, Akron, all these spots, back on over to Boston and Massachusetts. Very intense heat for this time of the year. In fact, it's hotter than some of these spots that I'm checking off down here, down towards the southwest, or at least it'll feel hotter with some of the humidity. It's definitely not quite as bad humidity-wise down there to Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, although we'll be near the triple digits even there Tuesday afternoon. Here we go again with the circles towards our Wednesday morning. These are the temperatures you're waking up to in the morning, and I think this is a big problem because for those who don't have air conditioning or those who are just struggling with this heat, we're not getting much relief at night. In fact, a lot of these spots, even though it's hard to read the numbers with all the circles on screen, near 80 degrees or just below it and into the mid and upper 70s to start the day. That's not okay. This is really dangerous heat, and you want to make sure you're protecting your body from it and staying indoors as much as possible. This front right here is going to be relieving the heat in the north central United States. You can see 60s and 70s for a lot of the Dakotas. We've got Minnesota back on over to a lot of the southern areas of the Mountain West below those mountaintops in the valleys. Very nice there, but those areas I circled still breaking the record highs back on over there in the northeast. Look at this, still 50s in the north central United States on Thursday morning, so we're really nice there, but I hate to talk about that when we've got these 70s stretching from Texas and Louisiana and Mississippi and Alabama all the way up there to the Ohio Valley, where again, in those circles, as well as into the northeastern United States, where I'm now circling here, this is where we've got those record warm lows to start the day. Here we go, let's focus on these Thursday afternoon highs. Look at these. We're breaking records once again. Ohio is going to be a big bullseye. I've been saying this for a little while now. I think I said it in my most recent video from Friday, June 14th. Ohio is just smack dab in the middle of the areas being impacted by this heat dome, and it's going to be day-by-day record-breaking heat in the afternoon and the morning. I don't want to forget about the areas that aren't breaking records but are still very hot back here from Indiana and Illinois back down to Louisiana and Texas, though, where we're still in the mid to upper 90s. We've still got plenty of 90s over here in the southeast as well, so it's going to be just a hot week in a lot of the east to go around at the minimum. Look at that, more mid and upper 70s to start the day Friday morning here in the areas I just circled, and as we head to the afternoon, you guessed it, same spots looking at the same thing. We will, again, as this ridge degrades and sinks southward a little bit, we're going to see a little bit of cooler air encroach from the north, so you can see that from Maine through northern Michigan on over there to Minnesota. But remember what I said, things are going to remain very hot for a lot of folks even so. So from Ohio, where we'll still be breaking some records, Pennsylvania, where we'll still be breaking some records, all the way down here to the Carolinas, Georgia, Mississippi, Alabama, we're still in the mid and upper 90s, and pretty much all these spots, a very broad, hot day on Friday. Here we go towards Saturday morning. We're seeing some heat try to move further north back into the Central Plains, but I digress from that because look at this, we're still breaking records here in the Ohio Valley region, still in the mid and upper 90s here in a lot of the mid-Atlantic, now entering even the upper 90s in some parts of Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina. Same goes back here in this area I'm circling in the south central U.S. Same goes in Florida. Yeah, I keep saying same goes because the heat is going around everywhere, and in fact, it's going to infest the west into the upcoming weekend with that ridge that I talked about when I was looking at the mid-level pattern a little bit earlier there. A lot of spots in the southwest getting into at least the 110 to 120 range. Places like Las Vegas and elsewhere there in the dry heat zones of the southwest. So that's something we're going to be watching then. What we're also watching is the Tropics. This is your Tropics topic segment. I was doing 2 minutes of Tropics segments in my videos starting at the beginning of June, but what I want to do here is go a little bit more in depth, and that's why we're making it more than 2 minutes and calling it a different thing. All right, let's go ahead and look at the headlines for today's Tropics topics segment. Number one, we've got 2 areas to watch close to home in the United States area. If you've been following weather topics in the tropics recently, you probably know that there are 2 areas designated by the Hurricane Center. One is PTC1, potential tropical cyclone 1, which will likely become Alberto. We've got another weak entity near the southeast. You're looking at both of these, by the way, on screen now. The other thing is that we're likely going to see more activity in the Gulf down the line, but we're not too worried about that for now because we've got these 2 things close to home. Number one is that red area that you see down there in the southwest Gulf. That does have a 70% chance of development here, very much so in the near term at this point. The same percentage of 2-day as 7-day means that we've got very near-term development likely to occur, and in fact, this is potential tropical cyclone number 1 and has a likelihood of becoming a tropical storm, as you can see on the latest cone from the National Hurricane Center. Look at that. In fact, we're looking from Port O'Connor down through Corpus Christi down to Brownsville there in Texas. We do have tropical storm watches up the northeastern sliver of Mexico as well. They're right along that shoreline bordering Texas. We do have tropical storm watches up for this system because we will see some winds sustained near 40 to 45 miles per hour try to push on shore here coming into late Tuesday heading into Wednesday. And as you can see here, Tuesday afternoon, in the southeastern part of Texas, the south central part of Texas, wherever you go in the state, while there might be some scattered showers and thunderstorms, we're not really looking at anything too significant until we get towards the middle of Tuesday night, heading overnight and into Wednesday morning. By the time we're going to the midday time frame on Tuesday here, 1, 2, 3 o'clock Central Time, look at this. Very heavy rainfall will have been pushing in through the morning, continuing to push in, especially along the Houston, Galveston shoreline, back down there to where I just mentioned, Port O'Connor, Corpus Christi, Brownsville, all these spots, a lot of heavy bands. It's unsure exactly where the very heaviest bands set on up, but it's probably going to be right along that central Gulf shore there of Texas in particular. And that'll continue through late Wednesday before a lot of this precip heads more towards New Mexico and West Texas, supporting the overall western side of the ridging pattern that we've got going on right now come the end of Thursday. Here's how much rainfall we're looking at according to the Weather Prediction Center, a very accurate agency here associated with the National Weather Service and everything that you get from the government here with our local weather across the country. Look at these rain totals that we're looking at here just through the end of our Wednesday around 8 p.m. Note that a lot of this is falling from Tuesday at 8 p.m. through Wednesday at 8 p.m. here. 5 to 6 inches possible in some of those spots that you see in the maroons. This is going to try and make a run for San Antonio, for the Austin area as well, heading out of the back half of Wednesday and into the early morning of our Thursday as well. Notice some of those totals pushing inland. So if you live along coastal Texas from Houston all the way back down to Brownsville, I want you to be on alert for some scattered to even widespread flooding. Some of it could be significant flooding, especially in these areas I'm circling here where the models are in a little bit more agreement that we're going to see extremely heavy rainfall in some spots there, and where I've got circled, we can locally see a foot of rainfall there, and that's certainly enough to cause some major flooding. We're also going to, by the way, going to see a little bit of some storm surge try to push onto the shores there, 2 to 4 feet possible near the Houston, Galveston area. That's going to be the max out of this system as those east winds pump, gusting some 30 to 40 miles per hour for spots there in southeast Texas. By the way, where I just had circled, we're looking at around an inch of rain, even pushing towards parts of North Texas out of this one. Now, that area that was in the yellow a minute ago that I kind of ignored is this one off the southeast coast of the United States. 30% chance of development in the next 7 days, and it would likely happen into the 3 to 5 day range from when I filmed this video late on your Monday. This is as we head towards the end of our Thursday, the GFS model picking up on this, the European model picking up on this, but not exactly sure how strong this is really going to be. They've downtrended a lot of the strength out of this system. It's not an invest, it's not a PTC or potential tropical cyclone as it's better known. What you can see here is that we're probably going to see some precipitation push towards either the northern Florida shores, the Georgia shores, or the Carolina shores as we head towards the early part of the upcoming weekend, maybe enhancing some rainfall. But it is very difficult to know exactly where that's going to be right now, and it doesn't look like we're going to see too much more than some rip currents, some briefly gusty winds, and some, moderate rain concerns. Definitely stuff you want to keep an eye on, but I'm not as concerned about this as I am on what is likely to become Alberto there in the Southwest Gulf. That is it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me here. Again, if you're new to the channel, I'm at 4,351 subscribers right now. We're on the way to 5,000 if you want to support this awesome weather channel that you love so much. Make sure you're hitting that button. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you back here either Tuesday or more than likely Wednesday.
One Nation Weather.